Hello everyone. Today I will be discussing J. Frank Norris. Many historians call J. Frank Norris a pioneer of fundamentalism. But my question for historians, is this true? Let us look at the definition of a fundamentalist. It means, quote, a person who believes in the strict literal interpretation of scripture in a religion, end quote. During the 1920s, all the way to the 1960s, strict biblical views were starting to trend. World War II, the Great Depression, communism itself even, all had an impact on fundamentalist views, especially J. Frank Norris. Despite being converted during a Baptist revival and marrying the daughter of a very well-known and highly influential Baptist minister, and getting a Southern Baptist education, J. Frank Norris became heavily influenced by the Haydenites, and in the 1800s accused the Baptist General Convention of Texas of fraud and, interestingly, liberalism, according to historian Barry Hankins. He then took a position at the First Baptist Church of Fort Worth in 1909. Almost instantly, he gained a heavy following, well over 1,000 individuals. Despite being raised in a liberal environment, Norris's views began to line up with Republican beliefs and would partake in many Republican campaigns for office. His passionate and fundamental beliefs would become highly controversial when he was accused of murdering D.E. Chips, a Fort Worth lumberman. Norris had accused the mayor of publicly funding land to build a Catholic church and was against the idea. Chips tried to defend the mayor and as a result was shot 3 times by Norris. The court case captivated the entire country as all sorts of newspapers ran the story. It is interesting to note, though, how similar each newspaper wrote about him. For example, in the Douglas Daily Dispatch, J. Frank Norris is described as a fundamentalist in the very first sentence of the article. In the newspaper The Evening Star, Reverend Norris has an article announcing that, quote, Reverend J. Frank Norris, a well-known fundamentalist, to occupy pulpit in Northeast D.C. tomorrow morning, end quote. Mind you, the second newspaper that I just spoke about was written 5 months after his acquittal from his murder charge. Which brings me to another point. Norris's fundamentalist views had an enormous impact on those who followed him. In another article written in the Douglas Daily Dispatch from January 26, 1927, the whole left side of the front page is dedicated to his acquittal. It describes how there was a, quote, a rush to Norris and his wife, end quote, and that, quote, there were a few hand claps by women, end quote. It is also interesting how the judge, after getting the verdict, told anyone who celebrated or got very excited would be held in contempt of court. It's interesting. This piece of evidence, however, does suggest that women were heavily influenced by fundamentalist ideas. What perhaps, though, is the most important outcome of the fundamentalist movement is how it provided a sharp divide between Democrats and Republicans. Republicans took hold of fundamentalism, and as a result, many Republicans are stereotyped now as a party with strict religious beliefs and are evil because of these strict biblical principles by many Democrats. Why I say stereotypical is because the Republicans I know, yes, they are indeed very religious and hold firm in their religious beliefs, but they also practice what is in the Bible, such as tolerance, loving your neighbor, and forgiveness. The final point I would like to make brings us back to my original question regarding Norris. If one is a true fundamentalist, then one should firmly believe in the Ten Commandments, especially where it states, quote, "Thou shalt not kill." It brings the question to light as to why Norris resorted to shooting someone 3 times just because he had different political beliefs. Further research should be done to determine a definitive answer, because this ties into modern-day politics. Everyone seems to have a stereotype of Democrats and Republicans, and in order to understand how we can improve this, one must look back at how the parties became who they were and what role did religion play in the formation of the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. Thank you and have a great day.